Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. This is the show that's going to help you become your best self. And today we are talking about how to stop being a people pleaser. But before we jump into that, I do want to invite you, as always, to come say hi to me on Instagram. I am at Sabrina Joy Perozzo. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to hear any questions, comments, concerns, prayer requests, feedback, topics, suggestions that you may have for me. Or if you just want to say hey and hi, I would love to hear that too. You're also welcome to send me an email to realpositivegirlpodcast@gmail.com. I am checking my email there. I'm trying to do it like every single week. So if you want to send me anything over there, or you can also go to my website, which is sabrinajoy.com, and there is a space for you to sign up for my soon-to-come newsletter or to drop a question over there, and I can answer it via the email address that's connected to the website. So many different ways. You can check all that information out in the show notes below. But yeah, so let's just jump into today's topic, but I do look forward to hearing from you. And again, today we are talking about how to stop being a people pleaser. So this might sound funny, but I used to see people pleasing as an identity, like for reals. And I'm sure a lot of people, if they took a moment to really think about it, if they know that they are a people pleaser, would be like, oh yeah, it was kind of like my identity, right? It's who I was, and I was proud of it in a way. Like I really was. I know that sounds so crazy, but it's true. I thought it was my ticket to being forever accepted by others and getting everything I wanted. I know. Even when I was writing that note, I was just like, oh my gosh, you know what? I did. I was like, I am going to be that person that is friends with everyone. And like a lot of stories I tell about being in school really was derived from being friends with everyone. And it's like, I was kind of like I was Switzerland, I was pretty neutral and I just wanted to be friends with everyone so that didn't really cause any conflict. But yeah, I thought it was my ticket to that and getting everything I wanted because I was liked and went out of my way to do everything for others. Here, red flag, me having unknown expectations for everyone. But really, it was a pit of despair I put myself in. Often I talk about this pit of despair that we can sit in and we can continue to dig even deeper. So it's harder to climb out of those holes that we put ourselves in. But yeah, man, being a people pleaser, it was something, it was a place that I put myself in that I didn't even realize it because I was so young when it happened. And then I didn't, I just, again, saw it as an identity. So if you feel like that is kind of how you have gone about your life being a people pleaser, then know that you're not alone. I know that we're not alone. There are so many people that would see it that way. The biggest thing I learned about people pleasing is that it hid who I really was. And I didn't actually learn that, until I started going to therapy on the regular. Because again, it was identity. It was just who I was. It was the person that I thought that I had to be, right? And so it hid who I really was, which is bad, obviously. But it's even worse if you have been practicing like this behavior for most of your life. You lose any sort of like real identity. Maybe spots will like pop up here, there, and everywhere, but like not really consistently at all whatsoever. So you lose any real identity and end up only being who people want you to be and need you to be, right? And this is the case for me. I've been a people pleaser most of my life because it's how I kept myself safe from like judgment, criticism, physical harm, and being shut out. Over the last, I would say 5 years, I've really pulled back from that behavior, again, due to like consistent counseling and really becoming more self-aware and self-accepting of myself and understanding that's not the way that I need to be. It's not the way that I should be. It had to stop, right? And even farther back than that, I think it's been about 7 or 8 years, maybe. It came to a head where that was the time where I was like inflicting self-harm on myself. And it was due to being a people pleaser and just getting so overwhelmed with everything that I was putting on myself. And so I had to do a lot of work. And then it finally was like clicked in my mind, like, okay, let's just start weaning off of this. But yeah, when I grew up, it was like great way to keep myself safe from all of those things. And, I just wanted to be important to someone. And the more I got that feeling by doing everything for everyone else, feeling important, people patting me on the back, being like, oh, wow, good job. Thanks, Sabrina. You were the best. The more I wanted that feeling. I was addicted to people pleasing. And I'm sure, again, I am not the only person that went through this or may be going through this. And it might be hard to admit to yourself, but really think about it. Are you addicted to people pleasing? Are you addicted to people telling you that you are amazing and that they appreciate everything that you've done and all of these things that you've helped with and assisted with, and it's all been on your back and on your plate and you've done it all, and it feels good to get that recognition, even though you're really doing nothing for yourself, you're doing everything for everyone else, but still, it's like you crave that feeling, you crave those compliments and that recognition that you get from being a people pleaser. And it's hard to turn away from that when it's all you know and it's something that you even expect now. And there is a ton of emotional damage that goes into this and the way that, I was treated that contributed to me adopting this behavior. And I know this is similar for others as well, obviously. And while, thinking of having and being experienced, having experienced this emotional trauma and damage, it might feel, and this is like an immediate thought, for me, it was then, and for many other people, it might feel empowering. You might think it might be empowering to blame those people in our lives that contributed to this behavior, whether it's via manipulation, which manipulation can happen very easily. It would be an example of someone being like, hey, I could do this, but you're so good at doing this. Why don't you do this for me? And then continuing to have those kinds of conversations where people are basically just manipulating you, talking you into doing things for them because they are giving you a compliment in addition to it, and just, really trying to like play it up that you would be the best for this thing. So it could be manipulation, or it could be like forced expectations where people are just telling you that you have to do this. This is what you have to do. This is what we expect. And there are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Definitely you want to blame people because they participated in this behavior or some other behavior. But I'm here to tell you that I promise, I know it's going to sound simple, but the actual empowering thing to do is to wean yourself off of this behavior and start putting yourself first. It sounds simple. I know it's not. It takes time, which is why I put it in the phrase of like weaning yourself off of it, because weaning means it's going to take a little bit of time. It's not going to be overnight, and it's not going to be in a week or a month. It's going to take a little bit of time. And putting yourself first is really hard. It sounds easy, but it's so tough, especially if you're in the habit of not doing that at all whatsoever. So putting yourself first, this would include incorporating things like personal boundaries, living authentically, which means actually living like who you were meant to be and how you truly feel like deep in the inside. Becoming okay with others not liking or approving of you. That sucks. It's really hard to do that, but you can do it. Accepting that you can't control everything. That one sucks too. They're all tough. And many others, many others that are behaviors that you need to start engaging in, because they will definitely help you really overpower the people-pleasing mindset and behavior that you were partaking in, or that you currently are, and that you're, distancing yourself from. So I understand it's like you want to just be like, oh, well, this person did this. Like for me, it would be like, oh, I'm just going to blame my dad because he is the one that inflicted that emotional pain on me to be this way. But I wouldn't say it's not fair. It's just not appropriate. It's not going to make any changes, right? This is why we don't blame people for this kind of emotional damage and things that have happened to our emotional health, because you can blame them. And yes, they may have very well participated and contributed to what happened, but we still all make our decisions. And, being a child is tough because you are like the responsibility of adults that are taking care of you. They are supposed to make better choices. And it sucks when they don't. But even still, it's just like I just believe in taking responsibility for what we can do for ourselves. And even if, that did happen to us as a child, like hopefully finding an opportunity to introduce self awareness and understanding and emotional intelligence so that you can figure out if the way that you're living your life is the best way, and then, continue, like, go on a journey to improve yourself, which I feel like every single person in the entire world can do, has the ability to do. I don't think we ever hit a ceiling where there's something that we can't improve on. Let me stop my tangent right there. But that is what I'm saying. We can all definitely improve. So anyway, it's hard to start doing all of these things, putting yourself first, making sure that you are changing this behavior and no longer putting all of the blame on whoever contributed to you being like this, and really just taking the responsibility upon yourself and being like, okay, let's change, let's move on. Also, you don't want to continue to shift power to that person that has contributed. You want to be like, nope, it doesn't matter whether they contributed or not. I'm going to take control of this and we're going to move forward for better change. So before we get any further, I do want to mention that I can see how many people might view caring for others, like in a people-pleasing way or not, and being everything they need as like a noble and rewarding act, right? And I feel like in some context, that's definitely true, to be that helpful person, to be the person that's there, that can be counted on. But the nobility and rewarding aspects of this run out if it's literally all you do. Like if you are not even carving out even a little bit of time for yourself, that you can truly honestly tell yourself it's for yourself, it's going to run dry really quick. If you don't take the time to take care of yourself, you won't be able to recharge yourself to keep helping others. It's that whole like, if your cup runs empty, then you're not going to be able to fill anyone else's cup because you got nothing. And so you have to be able to take care of yourself first, to continue to help others if that is what your desire is. You also won't accomplish anything that is meaningful to yourself or that will genuinely help your future if you are always doing things for other people, right? You have to put yourself first. You have to work on yourself. You have to do that because, listen, how are you going to become your best self if you're not working on it? And take a step back and widen your perspective. So many people are living their life that way, and you are choosing not to because you feel like it's selfish. You feel like they need your help. I'm sure they'll be fine on their own. You need your help. You need to, please yourself. You need to go through the work of doing what's right and what's helpful for you for once, and continue to do that and realize that is the right and correct way. And there's going to be times where you might sacrifice that a little bit here and there to help someone out, to, be there for someone, but that needs to not be regular behavior at all. So ask yourself at this point, probably halfway through the episode by now, at this point, do you think you are a people pleaser? Like if you don't already know that, ask yourself, are you a people pleaser? And if you are unsure of whether this is a mindset or way that you are struggling with, I'm going to share with you some characteristics of a people pleaser so you can kind of get an idea of like, oh, I don't know if I struggle with this or not. This should help you identify whether you do or don't. So just know, obviously, I'm not a doctor or anything, but this is all based on research, and this could help you get closer to talking to a professional about it if that is your desire, which is always awesome. But just kind of give you an idea. So the first one is you constantly say yes, even when you'd rather say no. And for a people pleaser, even though they want to do everything that the other person wants them to do to satisfy them, there is still a part inside of you that's like, oh, you really don't want to do that, but you do say yes instead of no because you're afraid of the judgment, or you're afraid they're going to be upset at you. You're afraid of whatever repercussions you assume are coming your way that may or may not be. So you constantly are saying yes to everything. You don't say no, and that can become really overwhelming, to be honest with you. The next one is you become a chameleon of the people you hang around. So interesting. I definitely wanted to make sure I noted this because I feel like some people might not see this as like a characteristic of being a people pleaser. You do that. You become this chameleon of that person because you want them to see you as them. And that way they are more accepting of you. They like you more. You stay close to the vest, right? You are very much like in their in group. And so it's easier for them to accept you because you are modeling who they are to a T. The next one is you accept blame even when it's not your fault. This can also lead to like constant apologies of saying sorry, even though it is absolutely unnecessary and not even on you to offer those apologies, or if you're apologizing for really silly things that don't need to be apologized about. Definitely a characteristic of people pleasing. The next one is you rely on validation from others to determine your worth and approval. So if you're continually having people check to make sure you're doing things right, if like whatever you're doing or needs to get done is checked over by someone else, if you're being validated, like you're saying like, oh, I am worthy because of this, like if people you're constantly seeking out like compliments and people to tell you that you're doing good, that you're doing well, and you can't just trust in your heart and your gut that you are doing well, you are doing okay, and you just need constant approval because you don't know how to look for that inside and really tap into your own real self-worth. Another one is you're overwhelmed by other people's feelings. If you're always like, you feel super burdened with what other people are going through and you feel like you have to take on those emotions constantly and really live your life based upon how someone will react to something or something that you would do, or how they're feeling about a certain situation, feeling like you have to like step in and fix it, mitigate the problem, anything like that. Definitely people-pleasing behavior. You avoid conflict. This would also include avoiding difficult people, and so you continue to stay in like friendships and relationships and things like that, or at a job that even if you were being like, verbally, mentally abused by these people and taken advantage of, you still stay in it because you don't want to have any conflict. You don't want to like rustle any feathers or have any issues to deal with. You just want to be that person that does no wrong and does everything right and just kind of like keeps the peace. Second to last one is you're indecisive. You don't really make decisions well because usually decisions are made by the people that you are trying to please. So you just do whatever they want you to do. And you don't know how to choose because it's not about you, because it's about whoever you're trying to please. And, that's like one of the biggest things. Just a side note, this is like one of the biggest things that I struggle with, that I did struggle with. I'm getting better at it, is making my own decisions based upon what I want and what I need and not what everyone else wants and needs, after I was like recovering from being a people pleaser, because I'd never really had to make decisions. Everyone else was making them for me because it's whatever they wanted. But finally, finally it was like what I wanted. And I'm like, I don't even know how to make a decision because it's not really what I was doing, right? So indecisiveness, for sure, people pleasing behavior. And the last one I want to note is you compromise your own values to make others happy. So if you have like a belief system or a value that you believe in, but it's going to, make someone else unhappy or uncomfortable, then you will just ditch that in a moment's notice because, again, you want them to be happy. You want to please them. You want to continue to be in that inner circle. And it's such an unhealthy way to live because you're living so unauthentically outside the box of like where you should be, and it's just going to cause trouble down the road. And so I know I shared a lot of examples of like characteristics of a people pleaser, but I found it to be really important because a lot of times you can think that all of these things are just normal things or small faults when really you add them all up together or even just a couple together, and it's really like red flags of like, hey, this is something you need to consider. So if any of this rings true for you, please, 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 please consider whether or not this is the life you really deserve. Like deserve, like think of that word. Is this the life? Think of this phrase. Is this the life? Think of this question. Is this the life that you deserve? I don't think so. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say Absolutely not, which is like one of my favorite phrases to say. Absolutely not, because no one deserves that, right? You get a choice of whether or not you live your life this way. I want you to know that. I'm going to say it again. You get a choice of whether or not you live your life this way. You don't have to. You can be your own person. You just have to choose to do that and then move forward with a plan to continue on that journey. Now, if you do believe you're a people pleaser, or like based upon the characteristics I give you, or you already knew it, you're already like, I already know, hence you're here listening to this episode. You're like, girl, I know. Okay, then. Well, I'm glad you're here, and I want to share with you some tips on how to stop being a people pleaser. And today I only have 5. 5. They're kind of like, it's because a lot of them are kind of like 2-in-1s, but 5 good ones. 5 good ones that will really help you. And these tips will help over time. I cannot stress that enough. Over time. It's not a quick fix. Nothing is. It's really not. If anyone tries to sell you something that's a quick fix, it is not. So start slowly implementing these things, and you'll start shifting into caring more about your needs first, then assessing the amount of emotional resources you have left to help others, which is fine. It's the proper way to do it. Okay, you are done taking care of you, like really doing that work. Okay, what do I have left to help other people? Great, let's do it. And again, I did want to, that side note of like, sometimes it's going to be unbalanced, but as long as that's not a regular thing happening commonly, you are good. You're in the green. But yeah, I have 5 tips for how to stop being a people pleaser. So here we go. Number 1, start being honest with yourself. I talk about this all the time, right? I always talk about like being honest with yourself, confronting yourself. Hey, tell yourself the truth. Stop hiding from yourself. Come on. Because, if you do the work to at least be honest with yourself, like who's going to know, right? If that's what you're afraid of, who's going to know? Just you. No one else. Do the work. Take the time. Totally worth it. But yeah, start being honest with yourself, which I would encourage you. Practice self-awareness. Invite yourself to examine your thought process of why you're doing this. And ask the question, which is a very common question that's asked in my household. And I was like, I am going to ask you guys today to ask yourself, what is the outcome? What outcome are you getting from being a people pleaser? Like, what is it going to do for you? How do you think this is going to turn out? What is the desired outcome? What's going to happen, right? So be honest with yourself. Like, okay, well, do you really think that you're going to be able to get a promotion at work because you are constantly people pleasing with everyone higher up than you, right? Management and everything, and doing everything you can, and you're hoping that they will throw you a bone and be like, okay, well, let's promote you. But then do you really think that that promotion will stick if you decide to go rogue and decide not to do everything they want anymore? No, they might make your life really hard, a really hard thing to endure, right? And I'm not saying that will happen. You could just like people please and get there and then like stop. And maybe it'll be awkward. Probably will a little bit, at least at the beginning. But you need to realize that you don't need to like use it as some sort of like stepping stone to get to where you want. You can still get to where you want just by being you, maybe even quicker, because you're not pretending to be something that you aren't truly deep, deep, deep down in the recesses of your heart and mind. And I say that like that because, wearing the mask and being who you need to be to please others can really push that authenticity of who you are in such a deep cavern of your mind and your heart that it's going to take a while to chip away and like dig it out and then be like, oh, blow the dust off and be like, oh, wow, here it is. Okay, let's examine. How can we get this working again? So yeah, start being honest with yourself. Really ask yourself, okay, why do I feel the need to please this person? What am I going to get out of it? What's my outcome? What's my ideal outcome? And do I really think this is worth it? Is it possible I could just do this a different way that isn't so overwhelming or terrible or, as bad as maybe it currently is. So be honest with yourself. Ask yourself those questions and really figure out, okay, no, I don't like this at all. Number 2, you have to say no when you can't do something or you don't want to. Definitely had to put in the don't want to. Sometimes you just don't want to do something. Sometimes you just don't want to help. Sometimes you don't want to attend an event. Sometimes you don't want to go somewhere. Like, you just don't want to. And you're like, no. You can find a nice way to say it. Please find a nice way to say it. Like, you can even, like, if someone's like, can you do this or be at this place or do whatever, even if you know right away that you want to say no, like, but you feel like you have to say yes, just be like, hey, can I just get a few minutes to decide, or can I tell you tomorrow, or like whatever. Take time to think about it. Even if it's like pretending to do that, even though you already know your answer, you're at least letting them off a little bit easier, and then you can just tell them no later, right? It'll be better over time. The more often that you do this, the easier to be like, no, sorry, I don't want to. It's definitely going to ruffle some feathers at the beginning. It's definitely going to make some people upset. Some people might try to manipulate you into changing your answer. You got to stay strong. There are going to be times where you don't stay strong. You will fall to their desires and the way that they're talking to you. That's okay. Don't see it as like a failure. It's just another learning lesson of like, okay, I need to be on the lookout for them trying to get me to do something I don't want to do in this new way that they tried and succeeded in, but they won't succeed next time, right? So you really need to say no when you can't, when you really just can't manage it. And I'm not talking about like, oh, well, I'll figure it out, and then you try to rearrange your whole schedule and calendar. No, like if it just doesn't fit, and it doesn't need to fit, like it's not an emergency, it doesn't have to happen for you, just be like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. And see if they can reschedule or do a different time or just suggest someone else. That could do it, right? You don't have to say yes to everything. You really don't. You absolutely don't. And if you don't believe me, think about all the people out there that are like, no, I'm not going to do that. Or better yet, think about the people that are trying to get you to do stuff for them. Why aren't they doing it? Like, ask yourself that. Why? Well, why aren't they doing it? And they might try to tell you some bullcrap answer about how they're too busy or how you're the best at it. And that's one thing if they're like genuinely like, can you help me with this? Because I don't know how. But if they're like, oh, no, you can just do it. Like, no, that's not going to fly here. So really, really, really understand. You got to say no. You got to say no more. Just practice. It feels good after a while. I'm telling you. Number 3. Remind yourself you can't control everything and everyone. I don't like this one. I struggle with control issues. People here that have been here for a while, I do. Even today at church, I'm recording this on a Sunday. Even today at church, I was talking to a girlfriend about some struggles that I'm having with getting my coaching business up and running. And it's not like super big struggles. It's just more of like me needing to get out of my own way, but also not wanting to take help for those things. And she's like, you got to like relinquish control and let these certain people we were talking about, help you with this thing. And so I'm telling you here, I am a control freak. It's a problem. I'm working on it every day. And we need to realize that, with people pleasing, you feel like you are in control because you are able to do everything you feel you can in your power to control the situation of keeping people happy, making people see you in the best light, avoiding negative situations or bad things that could happen. But you have to realize, once you are able to move forward and understand that you can't control everything, there's going to be things that fly out of your control, then you're able to back up a little bit from being a people pleaser and realize, okay, well, there have been things out of my control before, and these people not liking me, that's really out of my control. Because you think it's in your control because you're doing everything you possibly can to please them. But what happens when that's not enough anymore, right? What happens when that's not enough anymore? A lot of relationships may not come to that, but a lot of them may and have, So really consider, like, if you do everything you can and they still decide not to like you or accept you, or you do everything you can and something doesn't work out, the way that you intended it or the way it has before. You have to just relinquish the idea that you have control over everything, and you don't. You don't. You have to remind yourself you don't have control over everything and everyone. That's okay. That's the way life is. No one should have complete control except for God. And realize it's going to be okay because you'll make it through. And so will the other person and everyone else. Because we are sitting here today or standing or doing whatever you're doing right now. And we're still here and we're still fighting and we're still on that journey of life. So just remind yourself of that. I have to remind myself of that every day. Not kidding. Number 4, learn to sit with discomfort of others' opinions. Ooh, you can't please everyone. You can try. I've tried. I tried for years, right? The biggest thing that I learned from that is that and one of the biggest things I learned from that I've only really adopted in the last 3 years is I am not responsible for other people's emotions. I'm not, and you're not. You're responsible for your own. You are responsible for your own. I am responsible for my own. And that's it, right? You can't please everyone. If people decide to be upset with you, that's on them, right? Or if they decide to be upset about anything, it's really on them, right? And so if you've done everything in your power to make someone happy or impress them and they still don't, you have to learn how to sit with that discomfort. I am still learning this because when people tell me that they don't like the decision I've made or the way that I'm going or the way that I'm doing something, it feels very uncomfortable. It feels like someone's pointing a finger at me and I feel like I want to combust into flames and then be hosed down by a water hose and just slink into the drain and fade away. It's very demeaning in my mind, even if it's given in the most nicest way, right? The lightest of tones. But it's really hard. It's still this uncomfortable thing. We have to learn to sit with that discomfort because a lot of times it will be prickly and it will be painful, and we just have to learn to navigate through it. It's tough. It's not easy. It's not easy. How many times have I said that already? It's not easy. But you can't please everyone. Some people just don't want to be pleased, or some people want to break people down to see how far they will go to try to please them or to be pleased, and then still let them down because that makes them feel like they're in control. They have their own control issues, right? So learn to sit in that discomfort, understand that that's just the way it's going to be for the rest of your life forever. And, you most likely have already experienced that, but you tried to make up for it by doing more and thinking that was going to solve it, and it didn't quite solve it. Really be honest with yourself. If someone was like, oh, I don't like that, I'm really disappointed in you, and then you went out of your way to do something to make them happy or feel redeemed, and they're happy with that, but then later, soon, they'll find something else to nitpick. You just can't please everyone. Okay, so number 5, the last one. This is a long episode. I know. I'm glad you're sticking around. You are still here. Number 5 is remind yourself self-worth is based on how you value yourself despite what others say. Your worth is not based on what other people say about you, what they think about you, how much you've done, how much you've accomplished, what your name is, how much money you have, what job you have, how many accolades, how many compliments, how many pats on the back that you have gotten. That is not a measure of your worth. Your worth is based upon how you view yourself, how you value yourself, how much you love yourself, and how much you have decided to lean in to self-acceptance and knowing that you are good enough. No matter what season of life that you are in, no matter what stage of life you are going through or heading towards, no matter what mistakes and failures you have navigated through, no matter what, ups and downs all around, Your self-worth is based on believing in yourself and knowing that you are good enough and that you are continuing and you're to get better and you're on a journey of improving yourself all the time, like all of us are. Self-worth is not based on what you can do for other people or what you have done. And believe me, I used to believe it was. Absolutely. Absolutely. Actually, I will tell you something recently that happened as we close down this episode. There might be a shift in my full-time job that I do with a company that my husband owns with his business partner. And it scared the crap out of me to know that I might just like leave this job, right? I might have to. And of course, I'm pursuing my coaching thing. So, it's fine. It'll give me more time to do that and fire my butt to do it. So that'll be great. But it scared me because I realized in that moment, and this was just a couple days ago, guys. This is like revelation a couple days ago to me. Bam. Self-awareness kicked in. And it was also the week my therapist was off. So I was just like, oh, perfect timing. Can't wait to talk to him about that this week. Is that I won't be making any money for whatever foreseeable time, and thinking that and really believing that my self-worth was tied into, contributing money in my day job to our household. And that's not how my husband feels at all. He's very much like, it's fine. Like, my money is your money's my money, our money's together. It's both of our money. So even if you're not making money, it's still our money, right? But I didn't realize until that moment when we were talking through it of what could happen and, having a game plan, that, yeah, like that a lot of my worth was tied into money and making money and feeling like I needed to make money for this family. It's a big wake-up call. It's not something I really fully dove into yet, so I can't really give you any more details on it, but it's something I'm thinking about. And it's something that I'm going to work on, try to overcome and fix, because it shouldn't be. I definitely think it's a great thing to contribute, but there's going to be so many other ways I can still contribute, and it doesn't have to be a part of my worth. I'm still going to be worthy, whether I have a job or not. I'm still going to be as valuable, if not more, to my husband, to my daughter, and to what other things need to be done, and what other things I can't do right now because of having a full-time job. So just something to consider. You can just have those moments of being like, wow, I didn't realize I was tying that to my self-worth when it's absolutely unnecessary. Because you're totally worthy without any of these obligation stuff or things and money. It's just how you feel about yourself and your self-acceptance and how you value yourself. So remind yourself, self-worth is based on how you value yourself, despite what others people say. People can say you're a piece of crap and you are worth nothing, and it's not true. It's just their opinion, a mean one, but it's just their opinion. And their opinion means nothing if you don't let it mean anything, because it is nothing. It's just their opinion out of their butt, out of anger, negativity, jealousy, even. So, well, that's it, you guys. Let's close down this episode. I've been talking for a while. That's okay. But thank you so much for listening to the Real Positive Girl podcast with me, Sabrina. Thank you so much for listening, downloading, and sharing the show. I really appreciate it. You guys are amazing. Don't forget to check the show notes below for how to get a hold of me on Instagram, via email, or on my website. I'd love to hear from you and get to know you. As a side note, something that I forgot to mention, but I'll mention it now if you're hardcore and you listen to the end, is that for people pleasing, I have done 2 previous episodes about that. It's funny because I've done one every year, every season, it seems. So episode number 62 is about people pleasing, and episode number 261 is also about people pleasing. So if you want to hear me talk about people pleasing in a different viewpoint in years prior, you can jump back to those. I feel like this episode is definitely better and more condensed of all of those things together, because those 2 episodes kind of divvied apart how to know you're a people pleaser and then how to overcome it. But these, the suggestions are a little bit different. So anyway, just wanted to add that note in if you cared about that. But that's it. So until next time, have a good one, and I will see you all next time. Bye, everyone.